This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and is not a substitute for professional mental health therapy, diagnosis, or treatment. The topics discussed on this podcast are intended to offer general insights and support, but are not personalized to any individual's unique mental health needs. If you have specific concerns about your mental health, please seek guidance from a qualified mental health professional or licensed therapist. Your mental well-being is important, and only a trained professional can provide tailored advice and care. If you are currently experiencing a mental health crisis, please call 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, 911, or go to your nearest emergency room immediately. Do not wait for a future appointment or podcast episode. Help is available right now. Remember, you are not alone, and support is always available.
Pull up a chair, take a breath, let's talk. Life gets messy and that's no shock. Honest words, no sugarcoat, just heat. Welcome to Holly's world, the hot seat. Hot seat.
You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may tread me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I have oil wells pumping in my living room. Just like moons and like suns with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Do you want to see me broken? Bowed head and lowered eyes? Shoulders falling down like teardrops, weakened by soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't take it awful hard, because I laugh like I've got gold mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide. Leaving behind nights of terror and fear, I rise. Into a daybreak that's wondrously clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave, I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. That poem was written by Maya Angelou, and many of you have probably heard it. It's called Still I Rise. I highly encourage you to go look it up on YouTube to watch her read it. We're back for episode 4. Welcome. As mentioned at the end of episode 3, this is part 2 of groupthink. And we're going to talk about it in the arts. How have we worked to make it stop in the arts? And I have a good friend here to help me with it. But I want to talk about how it has been used to fight groupthink throughout history. This is kind of my, don't believe me? Here are my examples. Raisin in the Sun, a Broadway play that debuted in 1969. That's the year I was born. You can do the math. Stories about a family in Chicago, an African-American family in Chicago, trying to make a better life for themselves after the father of the family passes away and there's an insurance payout that allows them to move up in the world, so to speak. But in trying to do that, they face housing discrimination, racism, and assimilation in their desire to do better. Philadelphia, 1993. A motion picture starring Tom Hanks and Denzel Washington. Tom Hanks portrayed an attorney who sought out a personal injury lawyer, played by Denzel Washington, because he had been fired from his law firm when they found out he was gay and he had AIDS. It was one of the first films to bring homophobia to mainstream Hollywood, and Tom Hanks won his first Academy Award for that part. Boys Don't Cry, 1999. Story of Brandon Teena. Again, I highly recommend you go look Brandon up on YouTube because there is a documentary. This one is a true story. Brandon Teena was a trans man who's trying to find himself and love in Nebraska. Family member finds out he's trans, kicks him out of the house. He goes to another town. He meets new people, falls in love, and meets two guys who, upon learning that he is a trans man, beat and gang rape him. He chooses to report it. And instead of the report being dealt with, he is treated like he is the problem because he's a trans man. His attackers find out and ultimately shoot him to death. And then one that's very much known now called The Handmaid's Tale, 1985. The book was written by Margaret Atwood, and it's set in a futuristic dystopian, patriarchal, totalitarian, theonomic state. Sound familiar? That overthrew the USA. The main character is a woman who is a handmaid. Women who were forcibly assigned to bear children for the commanders, the ruling class of the society. Arts is the way we break through. And I have somebody to help me talk about that today. This is one of my dearest friends who I've known for over 10 years now. He is the director of my show. He's the guy that talked me into this. He's on many of the different shows on Aru Creative and the Queer Centric. You've probably seen him around. He hosts things. He does amazing stuff. Jonathan Sheffield, welcome, my darling.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited. First of all, everybody who's watching this, you know it was a good decision to put her in that chair. We love everything that she does, but I also love that and I think it might be even more than 10 years. Just by
it's 11 now.
Yeah. So we can talk, and you'll see when in the fourth hour you'll understand.
Yeah, right.
But thank you for having me.
Absolutely, because I want to talk about what we did in August. Well, you did. Aru Creative did. We had a red carpet event for V for Vendetta.
Yes, which I'm sorry if you watching, which you should. 20 years ago in December 11th, is its 20th anniversary. This was during the Bush administration.
Yes.
It is more terrifying now to watch it.
Oh,
and
God,
so
it was.
We hosted a red carpet screening. We made it a big deal. We wanted people to show up because for me, I do my best work when I can use the arts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can I tell a story?
Go for it.
I want to tell you why I discovered that the arts is where you can make more change. I was 24 and I directed my first 2 short plays in Wenatchee, Washington. And one of them was called Because I Wanted to Say. And it had to do with a young woman who was packing up the things of her best friend who had passed away from AIDS. She was in her attic. And it ends up being a conversation between these two people because she's putting his stuff away, but they have things left unsaid. So my parents went. My parents don't typically, they watched me sing through the years, but they didn't typically support, they didn't want to show up to these things. They came, it was a big deal to me, they showed up, I loved that. That is not a play they wanted to see. My father was a Southern Baptist minister. Of course, my mom was the devoted minister's wife. And we were all outside, all of us directors were outside when the show was over. And my mother came up to me and she was crying. And then she didn't say a word and they just left because my dad was mad. And I realized in that moment, art did something I was never able to do. It got through to her before she remembered that she was supposed to not like this. So all the fighting we had done when I came out, none of that mattered in that moment. And I think it made her angry at herself because it should not have moved her. And I realized in that moment, I need to do art all the time. Yeah. Because it was able to get through when nothing else did. So I started a nonprofit called Shine, and we used arts to battle hatred and discrimination of all kinds. We were able to bring Brokeback Mountain to Wenatchee when no one wanted it there. So I called. Amazing movie. Yes, I called the production company every single day. I called our local theater every single day. I knew the guy who owned the local theater. He wanted nothing to do with it. But there was and then I got friends to call, and there was so much action being had that they finally brought it. And yeah, it only lasted 2 weeks, but it was something that needed to be said.
Absolutely.
And so that was the arts.
Yeah.
And that's why we did V for Vendetta, because when I feel powerless, this is how you fight.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, when I watched it, I freaked out. I mean, I'd seen it before, but I was sitting there going, oh my God, I need to get out of here.
It almost felt like they just laid it over our society today. Like, I thought it was amazing back in the day. It is so accurate today. And with Jimmy Kimmel and Colbert.
Yes.
Because it does talk about a man who has a talk show. It was so accurate that it made your stomach hurt.
Oh, it did.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I'm going to warn you now, if you have never seen this movie, we are going to talk about scenes of this movie because they really are important. So, spoiler alert is what this is. All right. I know, of course, you just covered how it felt watching it in the current political climate. So I pulled some quotes from
It's such a quotable movie.
Yeah. Yeah. The first one is, we are told to remember the idea, not the man, because the man can fail. He can be caught, he can be killed. And forgotten, but 400 years later, the idea can still change the world.
Yes.
Thoughts?
It is about ideas. I think we forget. Like, I try not to think that, well, I have to be the one to say this. My hope is that I will be one of the ones to say these things.
Yeah.
Because it's not about the people, it's about the thought. It's about the idea, and the idea can grow. I mean, it can go both ways. The idea in our society right now, as we speak, is an idea that took root that I don't necessarily get behind. But ideas have power.
They do, absolutely. And if you've seen the movie, you know what I'm about to talk about. There's the first scene where V does his first act of defiance. Yeah. And it is quite something. And we'll get to the quote that goes with that shortly. But it was this, oh, wow. It kind of rattled everybody. You could see as the film went. The one of my favorites is people should not be afraid of their government. Government should be afraid of their people.
And talk about ideas. I think fascist governments, totalitarian governments, authoritarian governments, they want to convince you otherwise.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they do it because they're afraid. But when they convince millions of people to think they're powerless when really they hold all the power. Yeah. That is this moment that we have to flip. Mm-hmm. But yeah, very much so.
Yeah, absolutely. Another one, while the truncheon may be used in lieu of conversation, words will always retain their power. Words offer the means to meaning. And for those who will listen, the enunciation of truth.
That works to me as a writer, a singer, an artist of all kinds. Words I'm fascinated with.
I always have been
absolutely.
fascinated with, because I believe totally that they have power. Self-talk has power. If you say every day you're the worst, you're ugly, you're awful, you believe that because the power is in those words.
Absolutely.
And it can be the opposite as well. You know what I mean? Look, music also has power.
We're going to get there. We're going to get there.
Sometimes it sounds like a music box.
Yeah,
you
there you
don't
go.
know.
You know, the interesting thing about that talk is that's what my career is based on. My
Yeah.
job. You know, my job is to take words and kindness and use them not only to challenge thought, but to help reframe thought. Yes. You know,
Yeah.
that's called cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
I know what that is.
I'm a big proponent that I don't care who you are, everybody needs a tune-up now and then. So
Yeah.
everybody should probably have a therapist for when they need them.
Helps that one of your besties is a therapist.
It does. It does.
That's okay. Other people who are my other bestie gets that too. so
See, it's
you're
important.
good.
It's important.
You're good. But yeah, words are extremely powerful. You know, I can remember watching a convention. It was, I think it was the year that Biden ran, the Democratic convention. They had the Gold Star family
Oh, yeah.
come on, who was Islamic.
Yeah.
And they'd been treated so badly. And if you don't know what a Gold Star family is, it's a family who lost their child while they were in the military, usually in a combat or a deployment situation. So if you if you live in our area, if you've driven out near Moses Lake, that highway is named the Gold Star Highway because the veteran cemeteries over there. There's an interesting scene in that. There's two very interesting scenes that kind of play out in that movie. One of them being, if you guys don't know, there's an English actor. I want to back up a little bit and let you know that the setting for V for Vendetta is England.
Yes.
And so most of the actors were British. Natalie Portman was in it. She didn't do too bad with the accent.
No, she did pretty good.
Yeah. But one of the great actors of British television cinema is Stephen Fry.
I love Stephen
And
Fry.
he's gay. He's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
And of
Smart
course-
and gay as hell.
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. And bipolar.
Yeah. Yeah.
He did do a whole documentary
Yeah.
on that. But Stephen Fry is very much who he was. And in the movie, of course, Evie, who worked for the state-run broadcasting, they were friends. And she meets V and all this stuff. But she ends up at Stephen Fry's character's home and sees his home and basically his man cave because he has to hide. He's a gay man in the movie. And this is not okay. So he goes and he does a spoof of the leader. And that did not go well.
Right. A talk show host who speaks out. I think we've seen a few
Sound
examples of
familiar?
that. Yeah, of that right now. But the regime doesn't like that.
No.
And so they black bag him.
Yeah.
Yeah, where they
And
take
meaning
him.
that they literally come and get him, put a bag over his head, and it represents never being seen again.
Yeah, and they get rid of them so he never will be seen again.
Yeah. I mean, it was hilarious. But boy, did it strike a chord.
Yeah.
Did it strike a chord in that movie? You know, there's also a scene where V kind of gets into the studio, which I love. And I believe this particular quote came from that. In that is, the truth is, there is something terribly wrong with this country. Sound familiar? Isn't there? Cruelty and injustice, intolerance and oppression. And where once you had freedom to object, to think and speak as you saw fit, you now have censors and systems of surveillance coercing your conformity and soliciting your submission.
Every single day anymore.
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
I think it's really hard. There's also this point in the movie. I love this movie uses the juxtaposition of this terrifying world and empathy with each other. And there's a moment where Evie is in prison.
Oh, yes.
I just
And I
love
was gonna
this.
get to that,
Yeah,
too,
I love
because-
this idea, this thought where this woman, they're sharing through the wall these experiences. And this woman says, I may not know you, but I love you.
Yeah.
And there's so much power in that phrase because you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable to another human being, which, in my opinion, is the only way we find our way out.
But it was also an incredibly cruel scene because what happened was she is taken and she is put in this prison. And, you know, I mentioned last session, I'm talking about work.
I mean, it is a little bit of a session.
Show that it can go both ways. That we can be, when we get too far up in our own ideas, we can do things that are so not okay. And in this particular case, V tortured her.
Yeah, he does that that old philosophy of I'm going to break you down to nothing and build you up into what you should be.
Yeah.
Now, in the end, you know, we see, I mean, there are consequences to every decision. Mm-hmm. And she is this amazing person, but he had to destroy who she was in order to get there. Yeah. But I choose to focus on the beautiful letters because it is hard. And this reminds me of people are always like, so you must be for civil war. In war, no one wins.
No.
In battles, no one wins.
Yeah.
So it doesn't mean we're saying, I agree with what he did to her. But what came out of it in the movie are the lessons we need to take. But no, I do not agree.
Yeah. No, that we can do things the wrong way. We have to be aware of what we're doing and stand up for what we're doing. But we don't get to if we treat people the way they treat us, we're not getting anywhere.
No.
It's just going to be bullshit.
Definitely not right now.
It's just going to be...
Yeah.
We're not going to get anywhere with anything.
Yeah.
And, you know, of course, he gets into the television studio, takes it over, and then something happened this week that reminded me of it, and I don't know if you're aware of it. We are taping this in September, and it is right after Donald Trump went to England. Did you hear about what happened there?
Well, I've heard a few things, but what are you speaking
I'm
to?
talking about the Windsor Castle.
No, I just know he met with King Charles.
He met with King Charles. I call him King Chuck and Queen Whore.
We're never going to be allowed in England.
Yeah,
That's hilarious.
I don't care. I thought Diana was amazing. She was a very troubled woman, but boy, did she try to change the world, and she
did. Classy.
So,
yeah,
Queen Whore, fuck you. Yeah, my friends are like, oh my God, you shouldn't have gotten started on that shit. But what ended up happening was, apparently they had Trump and his wife staying at Windsor Castle. And so somebody projected a documentary about Trump and Epstein on the wall.
Which I feel is why we're at right now.
Castle.
Wow.
I mean, there were people everywhere, and it just reminded me so much of the final scenes, the final sequences of V for Vendetta.
Yeah.
Which were, you know, the first thing he does in that movie is blow up the Old Bailey. And if you don't know what the Old Bailey is basically the center of justice.
Yeah, we're Parliament.
In London. And it's got he's got music being blasted all over town because there's
speakers. Talk about artistry.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Such artistry.
And I did want to touch on, before I talk about what he said in that moment, because we're going to use that kind of as a mantra. Let's talk a little bit about music and change and political dissent.
Which, it's interesting right now. I talk to a lot of people who feel very like there's no hope, there's no way forward. And I always remind them, we've done this.
Yes.
Like, yes, it's really bad right now.
Yes.
But are we so privileged to think that we have never fought before? In the 60s, music is how what they use to be part of their battle cry.
Yep.
You know, there were these amazing Joan Baez, Joni Mitchell, and I just lost who I was going for. But these people created work in music, because this is what I want to say to music. Everybody who's ever been an angsty adolescent knows.
Oh, yes.
It speaks to a part of you that you can't seem to access.
Yeah.
Except it speaks to emotion, and it gets on the emotion. I always say if I'm dating someone and they speak to me in music, I know that's the one.
Yeah.
Because there is a level that it hits you where you understand it in ways you didn't understand it before.
Absolutely. And the way it works in the brain is it basically lights your brain up like a Christmas tree.
Yeah.
So that's why music can be so defining in life, in a movement, in all of these things. You know, I remember another incident that happened right after after he was sworn in. They had the Army choir come in. Do you know what they sang? One of I forget what the song's called, and I wish I had written it down, but it was about tyranny. It was about tyranny. It's from Les Miserables.
Oh, I love that.
They were walking around. It's
Right.
this big state dinner kind of shit.
Yeah.
And they were singing about tyranny. There are members of the military who have gone up there trying to hold people accountable and have been drug out of there.
Yeah. There's
It just,
video and everything.
Yeah.
I think I was... So those of us who are uncomfortable with the way things are have lots of conversations throughout our days.
yes, we do.
And one of these things is, I always say democracy takes participation.
Oh, absolutely.
So we have to do something. A friend of mine said today, I feel like we started the car and we're still sitting at the curb, and it's like, what the hell, hit the gas.
Yeah.
And I agree, because I'm sorry, yes, I would rather sit on my couch. I would rather watch Project Runway for the 80th time. But now is not the time.
Yeah.
We must... also, democracy doesn't only take participation, it takes courage.
Yes, it
and
does.
we must have it. Because you know what tyranny takes? It takes your silence. It takes you being afraid to do anything. It's an easier way to sit down. And if you're sitting down, you're doing it wrong. Yeah. We must... If you want to participate in getting out of this, you have to participate in democracy. You have to.
Yeah. You don't have a choice. You do not have a choice.
Locally, all of it. You know what's funny is I had coffee recently with this lovely young lady, Michaela Daniels. Hello.
Hi, Michaela.
And we're sitting in this coffee shop. And whenever I'm in a coffee shop, I could clear the room because not quiet. And we're not afraid. But we talked about how, isn't it interesting that you find yourself checking yourself?
Oh, yeah.
Because if you look around, people are,
Yeah.
especially right now, people would see this and say, we're going to put you in prison, you've incited. We've done nothing.
Yeah.
But that's happening everywhere. And she goes, the sad part is, two very loud people like her and I are, and yet you find yourself going,
Yeah.
like lowering your voice.
Yep.
To talk about things that we should have every right to do in this country, but maybe it's being threatened at the moment.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
It is. All right, boys and girls. We have come to one of my favorite times in the show.
One of my favorite times,
The
too.
no bullshit corner. But before I go there, my favorite word or the favorite phrase of that movie is "you have 1 year." Because when he blows up the Old Bailey and he's got all that going on, he says in 1 year, because it's around Guy Fawkes Day, he's going to do the same thing to Parliament. And they have 1 year. So we're going to go to that with the no bullshit corner. Nobody has the right to tear somebody down for what they believe in. I don't care what you believe in. I hope that you believe in kindness. I hope you believe in respect. I hope you believe in equality. I hope you believe in human beings. You can have politically conservative views, and I am totally okay with that. I am willing to have that conversation. I'm willing to have a conversation. And right now, we are all struggling. But let me remind you of something. You have 1 year. In 1 year, we have an election. It is the midterm election. That is where we can start to change things. I don't care if they're Democrats and Republicans, honestly. If it's a Republican who believes in moderate views, who believes in the grand experiment of democracy, because Republicans are not MAGA. There are 3 parties in this world right now. There is Democrats, Republicans, and the cult of MAGA. That is why we've talked about groupthink. And a lot of people are getting hurt by that groupthink. Don't give up. Teach our children. They need to learn the things that the school's being forced to stop teaching them. Teach them about government. Teach them about laws and rights and all of those things. Civics is a necessity. And like always, the only thing you can control is you. Don't give up. Don't give that up to someone else and expect them to make you happy. Because it won't work. It's on you. Your job, no one else's. Thank you so much for doing this with me.
It's my pleasure. I have one parting thought I want to hone in and say. Support your independent local artists.
Absolutely.
That are not beholden to gigantic corporations.
Absolutely.
It is how we continue the truth of our society.
Absolutely. There's a lot of great things. Johnny does the Spokane Minute every Sunday talking about things that are going on in the local area of Spokane that are not big things. They're these wonderful small group availabilities, and gosh, there's a lot of things, and now I have things running in my mind that I wish we talked about, we didn't talk about, but we'll come back to it and do it another time.
Yes.
So thank you again for watching, and we will see you next time.
If you are currently experiencing a mental health crisis, please call 988, the Suicide and Crisis Lifeline, 911, or go to your nearest emergency room immediately. Do not wait for a future appointment or podcast episode. Help is available right now. Remember, you are not alone, and support is always available.